here. They hate it. Luke always asks when we can go home, and Micah still asks to return to his special fishing hole. John is unhappy because the others are unhappy, and Athalia hears her brothers talk about horses and animals and longs for what she's never known. I'm telling you, I can't take much more. Dianne fought back tears. I try to be understanding about this, but 5 years have slipped away in understanding. The first year was completely reasonable. I knew we wouldn't be back at the ranch overnight. Then more time slipped away, and Cole ended up breaking his leg in that accident late the second year. No one could have foreseen that wagon breaking loose, Coco interjected. It wasn't as if your husband arranged the accident so that he could force you all to remain here in Virginia City. I know that. But then, when he was completely recovered, the freighting business seemed too good to leave. Cole was too busy bringing in building supplies for other men's houses. Had George and Jamie not pushed to get back to rebuilding, we'd have no hope of returning this year. Even so, I must say my hope is dwindling. It's already June, and Cole isn't making any plans. Every time I talk to him about ordering cattle, he changes the subject. When I try to mention finding a buyer for this place, he talks of the blessing this house has been. When I talk of purchasing a herd, he tells me we haven't the time to both build and restore the ranch and tend cattle. And he's right, Coco said softly. About the house, anyway. It has been a blessing. Where would any of us have been without it? Then, too, how would we have cared for livestock and focused on building the cabins and barns? Melodious sounds drifted out the open parlor window. Ardith, Dianne's widowed sister, was again comforting herself in music. It was uncanny the way she had taken to the piano. She could hear a song and replicate it without any difficulty. Seeing her interest, Dianne had found Ardith a teacher, but Ardith had soon surpassed the woman. Once she'd learned to read music, there was no stopping Ardith in her determination to learn. This house has been a blessing. It's given us time, Coco said softly. Time to heal and time to renew. Dianne thought back to their descent upon the small city. The fire had devastated them, taking not only the ranch house and barns, but nearly all of their belongings. They had escaped with very little, as the fire moved more quickly than anyone could have imagined. The large house in Virginia City had accommodated them nicely, providing room for Cole and Dianne's family, as well as Coco and her children, George and others. They were fortunate, blessed to be alive and safe, for death had touched them as well. Dianne's sister Ardith had lost her husband Levi to the fire. He had been a dear friend to them all, and a wonderful foreman. She didn't know who would ever replace him, if they ever even needed a foreman again. Bitterness welled up in her heart. It's just not fair. George nodded, his eyes filled with sorrow. He understood. He had once gone by the name Takes Many Horses and had lived with his Blackfoot relatives, enjoying the liberty and freedom of the Indian way of life. It wasn't fair that he should have to give that up in order to keep from being pushed onto a reservation with his friends and family. It wasn't fair that he had to deny his heritage in order to keep from losing his life. Dianne bit her lip. Ardith's sorrowful serenade was causing Dianne's spirits to sink even lower. I thought music was supposed to soothe and comfort. But comfort had deserted her long ago. We have to trust that God knows what's best for each of us, Coco said.